Welcome to Sparks of History, where Jewish history and world history meet. We are very pleased to have with us today Rabbi Moshe Maimon. Rabbi Maimon is an accomplished lecturer, teacher, and educator, as well as a lifelong bibliophile. Rabbi Maimon is the founder of the Torah Research Institute and has authored and published many articles and books, including recent volumes containing an annotated and revised edition of the commentary Peirush of Rabbenu Avraham ben ha-Rambam, Avraham the son of Maimonides. And these include the Peirush on the books of Bereishit and Shemot, the Peirush on the Torah of Rabbenu Avraham ben ha-Rambam, as well as the Ma'amar on the ha-drashot and ha-aggadot of Rabbenu Avraham ben ha-Rambam. And today, we will be discussing the life, works, and legacy, of course, of Avraham ben ha-Rambam, Avraham the son of Maimonides. Rabbi Maimon, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, Ari, for having me. Pleasure to be here and join your listeners and your viewers. I understand you got a very large and important following, and I'm very pleased to be able to address them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Maimonides, the Rambam, the great eagle, passes away in the year 1204, and his son, his 19-year-old son, Avraham, takes over as the communal leader and the Nagid in Egypt. What were some of the initial steps taken by Avraham ben ha-Rambam as his position as Nagid, communal leader of the Egyptian community?
So this position was essentially a political position. It was a position that was recognized by the government, by the Sultan. It was primarily for the purpose of representing the Jewish community, but also to direct internal affairs such as setting up the infrastructure with other judges. It was kind of like a grand mufti, which is the Islamic counterpart. So the Jewish community had the Rais, which is the Arabic word for Rosh, the head of the community, who was in charge of fulfilling those obligations and making sure that the community ran smoothly, handle all internal complaints, all administrative affairs. So essentially, it was an administrative political position. However, Jewish people, being who they are the people of the book, they are a religious, well-versed community. They wouldn't respect just a political leader that wasn't also a great Torah scholar. Now, that doesn't mean that this position was without its pitfalls. The Rambam himself, and maybe we'll get into that in a bit, the Rambam himself, who had held this position, was not without his political opponents, and he was deposed for some amount of time. Although at the time of his death, he was pretty much firmly established as the recognized head and the recognized leader and the accepted head. And so when he passed on, it was natural to give it to his son, Rabbi Avraham, who was, by all accounts, a very, very qualified individual, even at the young age of 18, 19 years old. So he slid right into that position. Now, I'm sure he needed help at the beginning, but right away we see there was some opposition right after he was installed. There's a record in the Geniza of some kickback, whereby communities who had formerly, different individual communities under the jurisdiction of this Rais of the Nugget, which had the custom of at the opening of every at the tefillah and on other important occasions, there was like a convocation where they would mention, they called it a reshut, where they would mention pay homage to the leader. So at the time when the young son of the Rambam was installed, previous political opponents of the Rambam now felt that they shouldn't have to give over the same level of respect to the son, and therefore they opposed saying this convocation, and they formed their own minyanim so as not to have to be part of the shul. And we find a decree signed by the rabbis, the other leading rabbis of the community, saying that for a period of 30 years, we're abolishing all convocations. we're also abolishing all private minyanim. Everybody's going to join together again in the main synagogues, and we won't. And as a nod to the opposition, we will not enforce the saying of this reshut, of this convocation. They do make the exception for the private minyan of Rabbi Avraham himself, of the Nugget. So he was able to maintain his own private minyan. Was that standard that the Nugget had his own private minyan, or is this indicative of, prayer reforms that he later became famous for, that already at this early stage he may have been engaged in promulgating? That's a matter of discussion. It's not settled, but it is clear that this went into effect. This decree went into effect where Rabbenu Avraham would have his own minyan, everybody else would join together, and they wouldn't have to say the reshut. But a short time later, he managed to dispel all doubts. He quelled the opposition just by the force of his humble, very capable personality, and he won over everybody's acceptance. And a short while later, the decree just was rescinded, and the reshut went on. And other Geniza documents show that he was completely accepted, and for the rest of his life, he did not have to deal with any more opposition.